Hello everyone, Tina here. I hope your day is going lovely. Thank you so much for joining me. Today we're going to create a couple projects and we're using some brand new items over at the Sunny Studio shop. This is the heart bouquet, and then there is a larger 4x6 stamp set called Passionate Penguins. So sweet. Great for Valentine's Day, but great for springtime too. And then I'm also going to be using a new die set that just arrived called Spring Greenery. We're going to put it all together and create a couple spring themed cards. These items are actually part of their the Sunny Studio brand new spring release, and I've been invited to be a guest designer over on the Sunny Studio blog. I hope you guys get a chance to head on over there and check it out. I'll leave a link down below. Let's jump in. We're going to start by taking the heart bouquet balloons, and then we are going to take some penguins from our Passionate Penguin stamp set. There's one image of a couple of penguins underneath an umbrella. We'll take that, and then there's a couple dancing penguins. We're going to take one of those, and there's a little bow in that stamp set too that you could add to the little girl penguin. I'm going to stamp that. So 4 images in total. I'm using alcohol marker friendly cardstock, and we are going to ink up our images with Memento Tuxedo Black ink. We're going to color in our images with Copic markers. When I color with my Copic markers, I do like to list them up in the top corner for you guys, in case you guys want to know the colors that I use. But I wanted to go for some spring themed colors, so we're going with some pinks and oranges and blues and yellows. I think that's perfect for springtime, but this would make a great Valentine's Day set too. With Valentine's Day pretty close to being here, I think this is just adorable. But I'm going to zoom in, play a little music. I'll speed up the video while I color, but when I'm done coloring, I'll catch you back. Okay, coloring is all done. Next, I do have the coordinating dies for both of these stamp sets. For both the Heart Bouquet, which is the small 2x3 stamp, and then also the Passionate Penguins. And I'll list everything down below if you guys want to check it out. The balloons are nice because it just cuts out the balloons. So if you like dimension, you can pop those up, and then you can re-stamp it with the strings. And we'll do that on our project here today. I'm going to tape everything down and run them through my die cutting machine. We'll just make sure that they're not going to go anywhere, and we'll just punch them out, and our images are all ready to go. And I just love the bright cheeriness of these. And again, pinks and purples would be just so cute with this, with these images. Next, I'm going to go ahead and work on my background. So we're going to bring in some pattern paper. I have a two-tone green pattern paper. We're going to use our spring greenery dies to cut out some leaves with that. And then I have some white cardstock where we're going to cut out one medium arch and then an arch frame with a white cardstock. I'm going to go ahead and separate a couple of these dies so I could put them on my pattern paper. And again, my pattern paper was just a random piece, but you guys can use any two-tone pattern papers that you have. In fact, the pattern papers that I'll be using for my projects are all basically two-tone. Tone on tone will work good. But I'm going to separate. I didn't take the single like floral leaves in here, just the others. We're going to die cut these out, and again we're going to use the Stitched Arches die set. The largest and the smallest will create a real thick arch frame, and then I'll take the medium and we're going to cut out an archway with that. Just to make sure that my frame is evenly spaced, I'm going to tape them down, and then I'll run all of my dies through my die cutting machine. Now I also am using the icing borders die set, and I cut out a couple icing strips. I'm going to take the largest arch die, and using the leftover paper of the leaf pattern that we die cut out, I'm going to create a hillside with that. But I want the stitch detail to continue because it's going to go on the outside of that arch frame. So I'm going to run that through my die cut machine, just the bottom area. And then those were the icing borders, which I love. I think these are just the cutest borders ever. For my first card, I have my card base, and then I have some tone on tone yellow pattern paper. This measures 4 inches by 5 1/4, and we're going to go ahead and adhere this to our card base. And then I also have a 1-inch strip of tone on tone pink paper, and then I have a I believe it's a 3/4 inch strip of the orange tone on tone. We're going to layer those together and put it at the bottom of this arch. But before we do that, we need to stamp the strings to our balloon. So I'm going to take my balloon image, put this on an acrylic block, and I'm going to stamp with my VersaFine Onyx Black ink, and we'll stamp this on our archway. Some of it's going to overlap the arch, and that's okay because the balloons are going to replace it, and you'll see here in a minute just what I mean. I'm going to use my little penguin as a guide to where to put these strings. I want that little guy to be holding the bouquet of balloons. We'll stamp that. At this point, if you guys want to use your same Copic markers and color in those balloons, you can. This way, if you ever tilt your card, you won't have that black and white behind it. Although I don't think it's going to be that noticeable. But I'm going to pop up my balloons that were colored in, and then also put a foam square behind my penguin. And we'll just go ahead and add our balloons over our black and white ones. And I love the way this looks. There's actually some balloon tails also in the stamp set. I didn't stamp those, but there is that option if you want to put the tails to the balloon. Also, there's a bow that if you want to add. But I think it looks better just with the penguin holding these balloons. We're going to stamp the sentiment says, "You hold my heart," and I'm using my VersaFine ink for that. And I'm stamping it towards the middle of my archway, saving room for my little penguin. And then with my leaves, I already have adhesive behind this archway. I wanted to just add some greenery to give it a spring look. So what we're doing is just taking some leaves and going around the archway. Not the bottom area of the archway, just the sides and the top basically. And then there's two fern looking pieces. We're not going to use those. We're going to actually save those for our next card. But once I'm happy, and I think these are all going to fit on my card. Yes. I'm going to go ahead and take my two strips. I layered them together and put them on the bottom of my arch and then trimmed off the excess. So we have a little pink peeking out. Next, I'm going to go ahead and adhere my archway to my card base. And then I have my little icing border. I'm going to add a little bit of adhesive behind this. And I already tacked it down, but I think I'm going to pop it up with some foam tape. So I didn't use too much adhesive behind my archway. So we're going to add our border and we'll trim off the excess. And I have enough to make a double border. I'm not sure if we should add another layer of icing or not. And I think one layer is just going to work out great. I didn't want to take away from the colors on the bottom here. We're going to flip over our archway and we'll add some foam adhesive behind here to give our background arch a little bit of dimension. Just curve the top here, and this is going to go in the center of our card base. Next, I did add a small foam square, itty bitty piece behind that little bow, and we're going to turn our little penguin into a girl penguin by adding that bow. Of course, you don't have to. You could keep it neutral and skip the bow, but I just think it's cute. Now, last but not least, I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of detail highlighting some of the balloons with my white gel pen. I like doing this when there's a lot of open area. It just kind of ties everything together. And highlighting the balloons actually gives it dimension too. So I think this makes a nice little playful card. Now that is card number one. We're going to set this aside and we're going to start on our next card. The card number two is fairly easy. I have some orange tone-on-tone pattern papers. We're going to flip this around and add this to our card base. This is slightly smaller than an A2 size card base. I like that white border on my card. Next, we're going to take our white archway. We have that green bottom that we have stitch detail on. I'm going to trim off the left and the right of it, kind of curving it to create a little hillside. I wanted to place for my little penguins that have that balloon to sit on, so this worked out perfect. And I like the stitch detail that's continued. That's why I die cut that out. Next, I have some white and yellow stripe paper. If you have tone-on-tone yellow, you could put it behind here also. But I'm just going to put this pattern paper, giving it a spring theme or a spring feel. I'm going to put it behind my window there. We had a little overhanging on that corner, so I just trimmed it off. For this one, we're going to use another one of those icing borders. And this is going to go in that green area on the hill. And I want to leave it long. I want this to go the width of my card base. So we're not going to trim that down. This is going to go in the center. And I did add a little extra adhesive on the left and right of that icing. We're going to trim off the excess. And then we're going to go ahead and take our two little fern pieces left over. There's a large one and our small. I'm going to tuck it underneath our green heel, the largest one, and then the smallest one will go right next to it. And then we have our little penguins. We're going to add some foam adhesive behind there. Before we remove the release paper off of our little penguins, I do want to stamp our sentiment. For this card, we're going to stamp the sentiment. There's a lot of fun sentiments that you can mix and match. And I think "You're the Coolest" would go good with this card. So I stamped that just above the umbrella. And then we're going to go ahead and take some small hearts that are in the stamp set. There's quite a few, and I wanted to have just a little extra added color above that umbrella, almost like it's raining hearts. Before we stamp those, I do want to go ahead and use my Memento ink. We're going to color in those with Copic markers. So I made sure I used my Memento ink. I'm going to color my last little heart yellow, and then we'll remove the release paper off of these guys, and then we can secure them on our card base. Almost did it without almost added a little bit of highlight without adding my penguins. Let's add some highlights to our umbrella using that same white gel pen. And then last but not least, I do want to bring in a little bit of shine. I'm using my glossy accents, and I went over all the hearts on my little umbrella penguin card, and then I want to go over a couple of the balloons in the balloon bouquet. I think this is going to add some shine, and it's going to add some dimension. And that finishes up both of my projects today for Sunny Studio. I hope you enjoyed them. I am so ready for spring. We have snow here, and so spring themed cards are right up my alley around this time. But I'm excited and to be a guest designer. Again, head on over to the Sunny Studio blog, guys, and check out the brand new spring release. I think you're going to be excited. There's lots of beautiful florals, just lots more to the release. But I thank you so much for joining me. Have a wonderful day, and we will see you again soon. Bye-bye.